Sorry we're a bit late. I had a few technical issues, but we made it back. Hopefully in the chat there is a link now if anyone wants to join on Zoom. There's a link to the meeting and the password on there. So if anyone wants to join, have a chat about comedy and all that. In the meantime, what I was planning on doing this session is I'm going to talk a bit just about a couple of subjects that people like to talk about, things that you can talk about in comedy. One of the best things I think about comedy is that you can talk about pretty much everything. It's a great platform to talk about mental health, sexuality, just current affairs, what we feel about the world. It's a great way to actually speak about your life in front of people and actually convey what you mean and what you're thinking. It's really handy platform to have, and it's very helpful in so many ways. Obviously a big part of what we're doing here through YM and generally through what we do, what we're doing with the festival here is trying to get people to talk about mental health, about we had the discussion about LGBT yesterday with LGBT Norfolk, I believe it was, so you came in, and these are things that people struggle to talk about, but weirdly gets so much easier to talk about on the stage. Like, so many subjects are easier to talk about when you're on there. So a big thing, depending on people, what your viewing of comedy is like. A lot of people may have seen Hannah Gadsby recently, who has shows Nanette and Douglas, both some difficult subjects she talked about, and great way, and it's opened up, while a lot of people did talk about it before, it's opened up this new sort of level of people talking about mental health, which is fantastic. I often think, like I said in the last one, there is that where you need to be careful that you're not, trying to see how to put it, you're not sort of mocking people with mental health issues. Like, obviously that's not what anyone wants to do. However, it is a great way to have a frank discussion about your mental health. So you can talk about times you've struggled, you can talk about what you did to deal with it, you can talk about how you got through this, how you felt at the time, while still making it funny and engaging. Like I said, that's the classic way of when you, if you want to sort of treat the audience as if they're close to you, going for that emotional connection, often opening up in a way at the start. So you open up, you say, talk about the struggles you've had with mental health. You get people emotionally invested in what you're saying. That way, when you do the jokes and that, you can put them in there, you've got people invested in what you're saying, and that way you can actually, often a lot of the best comedians, to be fair, do that. I think I mentioned Stuart Lee is a great way of bringing people into the fold while talking about mental health, the struggles that so many comedians have had publicly. I think it's like the anniversary of Robin Williams' death recently, so a lot of people are talking about it again. The few ways I talk about it, again, the way my act is usually quite light-hearted, lots of puns, lots of wordplay, so it's a little bit different than the usual deep mental health stuff. Again, Kiri Pratchard-McLean, if you have a chance to see her show, is absolutely brilliant. I discuss it really well. So I don't want to go too deep into it, but it's a good, talking about anxiety, about when you're trying, how difficult it is to get up on stage in the first place, and if you mention that and then you do I mentioned earlier about confidence, like, you don't have to be confident to act confident on stage. Like, you can be terrified, and if you mention that, and then you talk about, you show the confidence, you show how you can get through it. A lot of audiences connect to that, and they'll, again, you get them on your side. If the audience likes you, you're going to have an easy job for the night, which is what we really want, isn't it? In the end, get them on your side earlier. Next, again, difficult subjects you can bring up, but it gets easier. It's a great way a lot of people say cheaper than therapy. That's what you do. Hey, get paid sometimes, it's great. I've only made a slight loss on my comedy career. So, talking about things like sexuality now, say LGBT people even before, it's a great way. I've known people who have barely come out, but then they find it so much easier to talk about on stage, because you get this stage personality. When you're on there, you get to act as whoever you've chosen to. You can, if you want a personality, to make a personality for comedy, great. If you want to be yourself, that's fine as well. You can do pretty much whatever you want, and no one really cares. It's quite nice. It's very freeing when you're out there. Again, like I said, there's a lot of great comedians. You've got Tom Allen, Joe Lyster, like some of these great comedians who talk about that. Highly recommend. Like, if that's what you want to talk about, to look into. Oh, I've got phones ringing, which is always fun. The next again, big subject I was gonna talk about is just dealing with current affairs, dealing with what's going on in the world. I was saying, so my stuff, when I started out, was quite light-hearted. I was quite whimsical. I love one-liners, I love puns, and that's what I wanted to try and do. But the more I performed, and I started in 2018, the more I performed and the more time went on, we came towards 2020, which is, as everyone knows, a super fun time and not terrifying at all. So I've found my stuff has been going a little bit darker. You may have noticed in my earlier slight rant when I ended up talking about Tories that a lot of my stuff is quite left-wing, and you can find, a lot of people find their style changes massively once you've been performing, and with the stuff that's going on. Again, so there's no rules really, it's a subjective art, but there are certain things you can do. People, you don't really want people just to say, oh yeah, world's crap, it's all on fire. Like, okay, everyone knows that. It's a little bit funny, but it's not what you want. I really like it when comedians and people in general, I like knowing facts. And at the moment, we have the weird thing where reality is kind of more insane than most of us can imagine. Again, another great example, I'm trying to give out examples of people who are brilliant at this. One of the, probably the best current affairs, political comedian, is Nish Kumar at the moment. He's absolutely incredible. And the way he's very well researched, and the way he does it is just brilliant. Hilarious and heartbreaking at the same time. Highly recommend it, because we're living at this time where things can be a struggle. A lot of people have been stuck at home. Pretty much everyone's been stuck at home for the last few months, and you might be thinking, I don't know what I can write about, because I've not done anything in 4 months to actually get any material out of. which, to be fair, is difficult. But also, by not doing things, being stuck at home, it gives you the opportunity to do some research, look what's happening, make, I don't want to say make light of things that happen in the world, but give a voice to things that are happening. Got to be, again, we have this mature content warning. I'm going to be careful with the things I say, but I'm currently had a little bit about, I don't know if anyone's been looking at what's happening in America at the moment, but it makes the UK kind of look like a field of daisies at the moment. It's interesting. There's been riots for like over 60 days in Portland. People are fighting back. It's fantastic. And and you've got the issues with the Customs and Border Patrol who over there are interesting. Again, trying to keep away from the bad language. So I've had a bit there where talking about what has been happening over there, about ICE keeping people in cages and all of the lovely things that aren't super depressing. But using comedy, you can make people aware. Like a lot of people, it can be difficult. We've got that overload of news. People might not be aware of what's going on. Using comedy, using a platform, you can actually talk about this and say, look, this is happening, whilst still keeping it enjoyable, keeping it fairly light-hearted, and going on about it. It's a very difficult tightrope. It's a hard thing to follow, but also I find writing about these things, and actually, even if I don't ever perform them, writing about it helps me anyway. It makes me feel a bit better. And kind of on the same thing there, like I thought in my job, I do talk about a lot of difficult subjects. Again, mental health is a massive one about what we deal with here. But being able to write in bits about mental health, what I've been through, what people I know have been through, even that helps in my life of how to talk to people who are struggling with it. Like, it's really helpful to know that, because it's something that you will have to talk about. So if you spend some time, you want to do some comedy, you spend some time learning how to write about it and thinking about it, it's going to make things easier for you to speak about it. Obviously, there are a lot of other subjects you can speak about with comedy. If anyone, so what we're planning on doing, because we're been having some technical issues getting people on and speaking, so we have on the notes here on the website, we've got an email address for Youth West for the festival. If anyone wants to, either has questions that they want to message in, if anyone has done some comedy, they want to do it, but they're scared of showing people, what they can always do is record a quick few minutes, literally 2-3 minutes, record that, send it in. We're having the open mic, like I said, tomorrow, so people can have it broadcast, but if they don't want to have it broadcast, they can send it in. I can look over it, I can respond to you, saying, what I think, what's good, what's if you're falling into any of the common pitfalls that you can do with comedy, because there are some things that you don't realise that you're doing until you actually put it out there and someone looks over it for you. So I've still got huge amounts to learn. Don't be doing it 2 years. There are most people who are out there who've now been big, who've been doing it 10 years plus. It's something that you get better at each time you do it, and hopefully the live comedy scene will be back soon. In the local, if you're in Norwich, or in Norfolk anyway, we have Hoover Comedy, HWMA. Recommend checking them out. They gave me a lot of my early chances, and they still do. Gave me my first headlining show, where it was nice to get that support, so you can go out and you can do it. Okay, that show didn't go too great. I tried some new stuff. It did not work at all. Which, don't try new stuff when you're headlining. That was probably quite stupid. So, but we all learn. Still got to go back to some of my classic stuff, which was quite nice, and which I don't feel too confident about doing on here because, again, unfortunately, subject matter not great, and if my boss watches it, I could get sacked. No, it's not that bad, but it is nice to be able to talk about those things and to get out there and to know people are going to listen. So if any of you want to do that, do it. If you've just got questions, you want to email or send a message in saying, I'm thinking about doing this. So if someone, a lot of the common questions I get, because when you tell people you do comedy, people ask you a lot of questions. Okay, the most common one is tell us a joke, which always is fun to hear and doesn't make you sad at all. But you get that a lot. But you get other things like people saying, I've been thinking about doing it for a long time, what should I do? So first, main thing I say is literally do it. At the moment it's very difficult because everything's closed, but when open mics are there, book a slot at open mic, try it, see how you feel. Even if it doesn't go well, even if you struggle with your nerves, it's fine, because getting up there and seeing how it feels to be up there in front of people and how you deal with that, if you enjoy it, you'll find out a lot of whether you'll enjoy it by actually being up there. Some people I got up there first time, I knew this is something I want to do. Loads more. A really good friend of mine, he asked me about how to get into comedy. I sort of gave him a bit of support at the start, and he was like, yeah, I want to tick this off on my bucket list. I'm going to do just one gig. He's now been smashing it for about a year now. We did a roast battle in London. He's probably done 20, maybe even more shows now for his, every time we joke about he's doing just one show, and yeah, well into double figures, completely smashing it every time, looking to get his first headlining one. Was probably going to happen this summer. It will happen now hopefully once the plague goes away, but unfortunately plague times has made it a bit more interesting. So yeah, getting out there doing it is the best way. With those exercises that we'll have up on the website, highly recommend looking into that. Just try and write between 3 and 5 minutes. That's all you need. You don't need a lot. When you start off with comedy, you're doing slots between 5 and 10 minutes. There's other types of shows that you do 2 minutes. You can have to do where you'll go to a show, especially in London, you'll be doing between 2 and 5 minutes, and there'll be about 20 comedians on. There'll be about 20 comedians on the actual lineup. So it's interesting, and for them, it's all about getting those few minutes down. Write those few minutes, practice them over and over again. Get out there in front of people, tweak them until you're happy with it. Until not only are you happy with it, until you can do it without even thinking. That is to the point where it's just in your brain. You go up on stage, you do it, and then if you want to improvise, you want to add a bit more of it, you've got that 5 minutes nailed down. No one expects you to have an hour-long Edinburgh show. It's quite rare, like, until you're at the level you could tour it, someone's like touring their own show around the country, you'll barely ever do like a full hour show, like until you're a few years in. So even just working up like a headlining show is between like 20 minutes and half an hour. You don't have to worry about sitting and talking for that long, which unfortunately I have done again. Only about half an hour this time. It's not quite as ridiculous as last time. Although I had nothing planned because of, well, everything planned went out the window. So, yeah, go me. But yeah, I think for now, let's say, if you've got anyone wants to get into, if anyone has any ideas, send us a message, send us an email. Like I said, record yourself. Just record a couple of minutes, send it in. If you want to have it on the open mic, if you want to show people what you do, that's brilliant. If you don't, if you just want someone to see it, but you only want 1 or 2 people to see it, you only want me to see it, send it in. I'll just respond with some, with some feedback. So, and then if afterwards you feel like you feel more confident after me seeing it, then you can go, then we can put it on. If not, it's perfectly fine. The idea, the main hope that we have from all of this is that more people will give it a go, even if you don't do it all the time. It gets people talking, it gets more people involved in the arts. The more people we have doing comedy, the better. As painful as it can be sometimes when you're doing a show and you have someone support you who just knocks it out of the park, and you're like, they've only been doing it for a couple of months and they've just completely blown me off the stage. Can be a bit disappointing, but mostly I'm like, yes, that's what we want to see. When you see people improve and you see people smash it, that's the hope. And hopefully we'll have more people in Norfolk come up through the ranks, make me look like complete words that I shouldn't say on stream. I nearly swore, that was so close. But yeah, they make me look terrible, and I want that to happen. I want to be loads of young comedians come through, so hopefully we will see some of you tomorrow. Send in your stuff, keep doing comedy, be funnier than I am. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.